council meeting of the Village of Grand Manan to order at 7:30 p.m. November the 5th, 2018 at the Grand Manan Community Center. And tonight for prayer we have Pastor McCumsky from the Emmanuel Church.
Our Father, we just want to quiet our hearts before you here this evening, and we just want to ask your blessing upon this meeting. Lord, tonight we pray that you'd be with the mayor as he conducts the meeting and be with the other council members. Lord, we just pray for your direction and your wisdom as they make decisions regarding our great island. And so we just ask your blessing be upon each one this night. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to welcome Amy Brownlee, our clerk assistant treasurer, back to work after maternity leave. And last month, Esme Swigger had done her last meeting, and I want to thank Esme for stepping in for Amy. My open remarks in the September meeting was about litter problem on Grand Manan. My remarks must have fell on deaf ears. The mess of litter that I have seen in the last 2 months make me believe that a great number of people don't care about our environment or the beauty of our great island. Again, let's be responsible citizens and keep our island free of litter. Representatives of New Brunswick Southwest Commission held an open house on October 30th in the council chambers. The presentation was good and they answered a lot of questions on the falsehoods that are being said in the public. I believe a great many of the people were satisfied with the explanation given to them. Our bylaws that we are, I can't even make out my writing, written by council are not being written up by the New Brunswick Southwest. They're only being forced of them. Many of the objections to these bylaws are by people who were on council when they became bylaws. I like to mention what a great looking the banners are that were put up a week or so ago on the poles. It's great to see them. I want to thank, the council wants to thank the Legion members for the good work. And let's remember our veterans not only on Remembrance Day, but every day. Thank you. Disclosure of conflict of interest.
I can't disclose now, but I think I'm going to when we get to additions to agenda. Does that cover
Sure.
that? Okay.
Sure. Adoption of the minutes of September the 8th, 2018. It's a long while ago.
And I'll move the adoption.
You heard the motion by Councillor Cheney. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Moses. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Additions to the agenda. We have an addition for closed session, which is, it says land acquisition.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to add this item to the agenda.
You heard the motion by Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Moses. Question?
Should I step out for this vote?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Just as long as you don't vote.
Okay.
All
That's
those in
easy.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And I will declare on that item when we get to closed session, so.
Okay. The RCMP report, we have Constable Brian here.
Good evening. My name is Constable Brian. Reports for October 2018. I'll go over the different occurrences. Assault, 3 calls. Criminal harassment, we had 2. Possession of property obtained by crime, 1. Mischief, we had 5. Uttering threats, 1. Fraud, under, 1. Federal statutes, possession of Schedule II substance, we had 1 occurrence. Others, 12 false alarms or 911 hang-ups. 4 calls for assistance to general public, 3 for assistance to department agencies, 1 for Firearms Act, 5 Child Welfare or Family Assistance Acts, 2 other provincial statutes, 4 mental health calls, 1 for Wildlife Act, 23 police certificates, provincial statutes, 3 check stops, 3 motor vehicle acts, 4 traffic collisions, and then 2 traffic collisions not reportable, and then 2 other non-moving traffic occurrences. And that's
Any questions from Councilor Ryan?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Police certificates was basically a background check, as I understand it.
correct.
And how much is the cost, and who's the check made out to, if it does cost anything?
I'm not currently sure. I know our administrator, Sarah Greenland, conducts those police certificates. I'm not familiar with what the cost
Okay,
is.
very good. Thank you.
So are we up to force yet, up to the right numbers on Garnet?
I got an email correspondence with the other member. He just sold his house, so he's scheduled to come shortly as soon as moving arrangements can be made. We have somebody filling in today for short staff that came over from the mainland. So when we're short, we have people from the mainland come over. So to answer your question, with this new member coming over, we'll be up to full 4 members.
God, you're the only fellow we can count on. You've been staying longer. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next is the 10-minute open session. Next is delegation or special speakers, Eastern Waterways. Mike Hardy and Brianna, Rob couldn't remember your last name. Cowie. That's a hard one.
No, I'll handle it for her. Yeah, as was mentioned, well, good evening first and foremost. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Hardy and it's Brianna Cowie, and we're heading up the new climate change wing of Eastern Charlotte Waterways. After being awarded funding through the province's Environmental Trust Fund, Eastern Charlotte Waterways, has resumed work on the Partners of Climate Protection Framework to reduce greenhouse gas emissions within Charlotte County municipalities, which we began back in 2015. This framework, established by the Federation for Canadian Municipalities, aims to achieve its goal through a 5-milestone process. Together, Eastern Charlotte Waterways and the Village of Grand Manan have already achieved the first 2 milestones of this process by creating an inventory based on 2015 usage data and by having worked with Council to ratify an emissions reduction target. We are currently working on completing milestone number 3, which is the development of a local action plan to work on emissions reductions. This plan will include non-binding recommendations to lower emissions within the municipality that will also have positive economic and social benefits for the community. This will be achieved by capitalizing on provincial, federal, and private sector funding sources to limit municipal contributions and shorten return on investment periods. In order to complete this plan, we are assembling a steering committee that will provide context on past initiatives and potential constraints and barriers that are specific to the community. Ideally, these committee members will be comprised of town councilors, municipal staff, and other community members that have in-depth understanding of municipal operations, budgets, and infrastructure. We would ask tonight, not to put everybody on the spot, for any volunteers that feel like they would be valuable contributors to these steering committees. We are working with the community, with the CAO here, to figure out exactly what the meeting schedule will look like. We're looking at a maximum of 3 meetings of roughly an hour between now and what the project deadline would be, which is around March. So again, we were looking for some of the people that are familiar with the community, largely around the infrastructure in terms of buildings and other avenues as such. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but also if anybody feels like they'd be a good member of this committee. Not everybody at once. But is there any questions about the project? I know many probably are aware of the work that we've done. I believe it was Danielle St. Louis that was in previous to myself and Brianne.
But everybody's quiet.
So where's the meetings being held?
Well, that is a constraint, certainly. We are out of Blacks Harbor, so we are able to get across on occasion, but certainly do want to limit the amount of times that we're back and forth. So for this specifically, it might be individual calls that are done at certain times for specific information. There will be opportunities to get everyone even through video chat or different avenues like that. We are trying to set terms of reference, but with Raymond Inn being a bit of a special case, we haven't settled. We were going to get the committee together to help decide exactly how consultation would best be performed.
Well, it's just that it probably would help a lot if we knew like it was the second Tuesday of the month.
Sure.
Or something like that, right?
Yeah, and we can agree on certain things like that, but again, with busy schedules, you never know which night is the best for
Okay.
everyone. So we didn't want to pin down a certain night
All right.
and limit people's availability, I guess, in that way. But again, by going vague also, has people asking other questions.
You mentioned familiar, a member would be familiar with the community and the buildings. Are you talking about just municipal buildings?
Specifically, yes. We did develop, a community inventory as well, but that was largely based on Natural Resource Canada database estimates, whereas with the community assessments around streetlight emissions and energy use, building consumption, and municipal fleet, those were based on actual usage data, so those are much better numbers. So that would be largely the focus. We will tie in the community aspect as well, but the corporate is certainly our focus.
Do you need an answer tonight, or when would you like to have an answer?
Of course, ideally, you would love an answer tonight, but we also understand that these things do take time. So we do have our email in with Rob, so if you would like to get a hold of us, or even just have any further questions, we're...
So what's your deadline, I guess, what I'm looking at?
Well, the project deadline would be about March 31st.
No,
because-
what would ideally, what
Sure.
would you like to have?
It's hard to put a deadline on it. If you could tell us right now, it would be ideal, but certainly at the end of the week, if we can get an answer, that would be wonderful.
Thank you.
I think realistically, though, if we're going to decide, we should do it tonight, because out of sight, out of mind, it kind
Yeah,
of,
okay. Yeah, I understand.
I mean, maybe...
I could also, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but I could also, I could reach Rob later in the week and have him kind of circulate a quick email if you do want a little bit of time to think it over.
How many members of council are you looking for?
We'll take everybody if you're willing. We would love one. If two are interested, I know we do work across many municipalities in Charlotte County. We have one in every one, and a couple of, actually there's three in one of the municipalities that have stepped forward. So it varies. As long as there is a member of council, it's good to have that level of engagement within the community.
Yes, I'll volunteer.
Thank you, sir. Brianna does have your contact, I believe.
Oh, yes, we
Terrific.
will contact you.
Wonderful. Now the snowball's going, does anybody else want to? Perfect. No, and then of course, if anyone does, even if you just have questions.
Council's not approved me yet.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But again, if anyone does have questions, and I'm happy to answer them, because it will,
All right.
I'm always happy to talk about it. So.
I've already nominated.
Well, okay. Yeah.
So any other questions tonight? And again, you can be reached anytime if you do have a question in the future. Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So, the next thing on the agenda is some correspondence, and there was a couple of letters come in. Dear Mayor Green and council members, I'm writing to express our complete dissatisfaction with the decision to disband the PAC and move the service to Southwest, New Brunswick Southwest. In the early spring of this year, we sold a piece of land that was part of a larger lot. The buyer's plan was to build a camp to replace the one that was currently on the land. The property needed to be subdivided, and the buyer brought you survey to complete the task. We were told we needed a plan for septic system. I still find that peculiar. What if nothing was being built there? Following my post on Facebook page, Island Politics, we were contacted and told an inspector was coming to the island and would go out to the property. The inspector said the lot met with requirements and we needed to remit $500. We were told our application would be discussed at the October meeting. Within the past 2 weeks, we were contacted for our email address. We were told everything had been approved and the plan would be sent via email. The following day, we received a call from Vern Faulkner from the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. He had been out to the property and informed us a building permit was required in addition to a legal right-of-way. The plan, they said, would be emailed, had been tabled until those items were received. We were not told why a second inspection was carrying out. The building permit has since been submitted and we were working on the right-of-way. It's been 8 months since we sold the property. It should have been a relatively simple procedure, but instead was a bureaucratic mess. We were told there were not many others unhappily trying to wade through this cumbersome process. Well, there were many others. We believe most Grand Manan citizens want this service to stay on our island. As a chosen representative, we sincerely hope you respect our opposition to this temporary move and will reinstate the PAC and keep the service where it belongs. Respectfully, Eugene and Juliet King. And the other letter is, he told me it's from Kyle and Rachel Rude, and he pretty well got his things looked after, and he said you don't have to read it because all councilors have got a copy of it. But, dear Mayor Green and council members, we are writing to express our concern and dissatisfaction with the decision by Grand Manan Council to use Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission to provide services for the remainder of 2018. We recently acquired 2 pieces of land on Grand Manan. The first piece of land was purchased in November 2017. This transaction was completed seamlessly from an administrative perspective. We have since acquired a second piece of land in June of 2018. We plan to merge the 2 pieces of land into one lot. The company I chose to survey the new land and complete the subdivision plan was Hughes Survey. The next step for joining these 2 pieces of land is for Hughes Surveys to communicate with Southwest New Brunswick and lawyers to complete the transaction. However, I have been informed since Grand Manan opted to use Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission to provide services, we will incur costs and delays and timelines on completing the transaction. Councillors were elected to take care of this process for us. Councillors have passed it off to a non-elected body in St. Stephen. It seems like council has taken the first steps in giving the rights to govern ourselves. We believe, with many others who we have discussed this issue, that council should do a complete and thorough audit of the pros and cons of outsourcing these services. The facts should be presented in a forum for the community to better stand and ask questions what our council is assessing. Kind regards, Kyle and Rachel Rude. And a lot of the problems have been caused by Hughes Survey. When somebody buys a piece of land, they don't have to have it approved for septage. You don't have to have it approved to septage until you apply for a building permit and you're going to put something there. So Kyle was happy with the answers that he was given here. That was not the only thing that he talked about. There was other things, but he was happy with the result. So, okay. 11, new business. 11.1, a community approach to harm reduction and ways to improve access to addiction services. Councillor Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of you may remember a few months ago, our public health nurse, Jackie Rayner, was in, gave a presentation to council. Since then, she's been busy bringing together stakeholders around a community approach to harm reduction program, which includes doctors, nurses, mental health workers, RCMP, reps from Harvest House, pastors, AA reps from school, about 30-odd people right now. They've had 2 meetings. The first one was to assemble a list of resources that exist on the island and create a priority list. The second, they found 2 areas of priority. One was education around what harm reduction is and why it's important, and decreasing the stigma associated with these issues. target audience that could be potentially students and community and service providers. They talked about access to service, how we can improve access to service such as addiction counseling, peer support, family support, methadone, detox, safe drug use supplies, rehab and recovery support. And so this is just getting going, and it sounds like a very good idea. And anyone with any, that believes they can help out in any way, have any suggestions or resources that they can bring to the table, just get a hold of Jackie, and I'm sure she'll be very happy to talk to you.
So that's good. Any questions for Councillor Fitzsimmons?
One question. Jackie was in and asking for a representative from council. Roger, councillor, are you the representative now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Super.
I forgot to mention that.
Well, I wonder where it came from.
Discussion. Councillor Fitzsimmons and I. Okay, 11-2, Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission update. That's mostly within my remarks. The only thing that I would like to say is the bylaws are still brought in by this council. They're not brought in by Southwest.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's also important to note, and we probably are going to mention it anyway, it was stated over and over again at the meeting that we had at the open house, and it was mentioned, so if there's something that is a municipal that you don't like, you know, you talk to council and say specifically what you don't like, or what do you recommend instead, kind of thing, you know. So, as the mayor said, they don't make this up in St. Stephen or whatever. I mean, everything that's been brought here has been municipally, has been brought on by a previous council, and we're just basically enforcing it now. And if there's something that you would like to have changed, we can have that power. I would also like to say that we did have a meeting 25th of September, I also want to say. Anyway, it was the Southwest Service Commission. I wish the general public would have a chance to see that, because they had some certain recommendations, for example, like subdividing and different things like that, that would make it a lot less paperwork and a lot more easier for people to do. And they made some certain recommendations. I felt very good about it. I think everyone here felt very good about it. Another thing that was mentioned as well too was, for example, if you wanted to have a building up to 120 square feet, and this was just a recommendation, so it could be a little more, it could be a little less. Yeah, you know, there'd be a lot less paperwork involved. And if you wanted to have a building up to 608 square feet, it didn't necessarily have to meet the building code of Canada. So, you know, so if the person wanted to have a little bit of a shed or something, you know, it was just, there was some good leeway for, you know, good common sense solutions. And it's in council's control to introduce that down the road. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are upset about some of these things, and it's certainly not been listening. I know I have been listening. And when people tell me, for example, when I don't like it, okay, what don't you like? Well, and you know, because I need to know, we all need to know what people like or dislike in order for us to fix it. I assume I'm correct on this. So. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Well, one of the big myths was if it was on blocks, you didn't have to have a building permit. You still have to have a building permit. If it's on blocks or if it's on a slab of wood or a slab of cement, you have to have a building permit. That's always been there. There was a person come in here and said, I want to change my barn into living quarters. What kind of a hassle I got to go through? You don't have to go through any. Do it. Well, my son's got a piece of land he wants to sell. What's he got to do? He's got to put a for sale sign on it. That's all he's got to do. And this, with the roads, this was the big problem. What do we do? Nobody knew what to, tell him what to do. You put it into one parcel. So, anyway,
I think the building permit Q&A and the frequently asked questions, those sheets that they had, and they were part of our package, I think that we should at some point either do another mail out or at least put them on our website and Facebook page, because I think they address some of the misconceptions people may have about why it's going forward. It's very straightforward, easy to read, and I think it would go a long way to maybe addressing some of the repeated concerns that people bring up that maybe are not as accurate as some of the information that's out there.
and I know a lot of the issues have been resolved to the people's satisfaction. One was, so much land, and she wanted to give some to each member of the family. And they get into this, you've got to have the test holes dug and all of this, and that's been overcome. You don't have to have that for that.
Yes.
So, a lot of it is misconception, and
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
I'd just like to reiterate what Councilor Morse said. The feedback from the October 30th Community Forum came back very quickly. And I know there's going to be more questions asked as we go through this, as we watch this and we see what comes out. But I think it would be good to stay on point and to somehow get this out to the public on these responses. Because that was a very quick turnaround. And I think it shows that the commission is trying to work with the village to move forward and answer questions as they come up. So I don't know how we could condense that mail out as three pages or 2.5, but
I think that that's one of the things we maybe need to work on, maybe for an end-of-the-year project or something, but somehow to get it together so we're not sending out an encyclopedia of information.
well, I think it's good that we turn around and get it back out there.
Yep, for sure.
But I don't think we can dismiss the level of opposition that there is to this, myself.
Well, we had 35 people out to a meeting, and we have 1,700 voters on Bramingham.
Yep, I realize that, but I haven't had one person come up to me and say this is a good deal.
I have.
I haven't, I'm just saying. And my biggest fear, and maybe you can talk about this, is that we get to the end of December and we have to vote on it and there's nothing in place. I mean, if we don't get together as a council and talk about this, we're gonna come to the end of December and we're gonna have, no what ifs.
Well, if we go back to the way we were, there was no what ifs.
Well,
There was people building before that didn't have a building permit, and our development officer did not do anything about it. There's been 2 people since this has been building without a building permit, and they've come in and issued stop work orders.
then we need a new development officer. I'm just saying, if we went back to it.
So anyway, we are gonna have a meeting, and we're gonna have the discussion on this.
Good, because we really need, I feel we really need to, because this is, like I say, there is quite a level of opposition to this.
Mr. Mayor, I just need to reiterate, I understand Councilor Fitzsimmons' concerns, because I have the same, I think we all do. But once again, I have to reiterate, people have to be specific about what they don't want.
I realize that.
Or else, how else can we address it, kind of thing? To hear that, well, I'm just against it because so-and-so's against it, or this is what I'm hearing, but they admit they haven't read it themselves. I mean, it's, listen, we can all agree, I think that change always brings a bit of apprehension, a bit of fear. When the rural plan was introduced many years ago, it was, some of you were actually here at the time, and it was going to be the end of our world as we knew it, but in the end, what did it really change? I mean, things didn't change, kind of thing, right? So, I like to think that, I do believe that most of us are going into this with an open mind and make an open decision, and like most
And
decisions.
that's what we need to do. But
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I don't want to get to the end and then have nothing in place.
Yeah, I concur with that.
No backup.
We're of the same mind, I think we all are.
Because once you get there, it's, what are you gonna do?
Exactly, we gotta have a backup plan, right?
I mean, we've got to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that, we do need to get together and do this, but as Councillor Sturgeon said, you're not just again it because somebody else is again it.
No, I realize that, but there's a lot of different,
We had two that I know of that was in here, and they were happy with what happened, but before they would get out of here, one feller got them. And they changed their mind again,
yeah.
just because we don't want it. So, okay. A motion to rescind, motion 18-85, moved by Councillor Sturgeon, seconded by Councillor to accept the South Waste New Brunswick Regional Service Commission fee schedule for non-incorporated was given. Motion unanimously carried. CAO Robert Person to explain.
When that motion was passed in July 9th meeting, it was our information that council could introduce the fee increase by resolution. And in the interim, it's been brought to our attention that that's probably not the way to go. That would have to be a bylaw amendment or incorporated in the new rural plan. So in the interim, the suggestion or the recommendation is that motion be rescinded and the money that has been collected from the new fee schedule be paid back to the people that paid between them. There was, I think, around $4,000, and we have to send back about $3,800.
So who gave the recommendation to rescind the motion?
Southwest. They called me and said, you know, it's not right, it's not proper, or whatever. And, you know, to make it right would be to rescind it and then go on with the incorporated in the new rural plan and the new bylaw.
So it also, when this does come, when we do get this straightened around, it'll be typical bylaw situation, we'll have to read it 3 times?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
So what do we do in the interim?
Go back to your,
Old
yeah,
fee schedule,
yeah,
50 cents, whatever it is.
50 cents a square meter, I believe.
yeah.
I'm waiting.
Mr. Mayor, with that information, I would move that council rescind motion 1885 and refund the fees collected under it to the applicants who have already paid them and where applicable, hold a portion of these fees in an amount equal to the one listed under section 4.2 of the Grand Manan Building Bylaw, number 496.
You heard the motion by Deputy Mayor Moses. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Fitzsimmons. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 11.4, light out renovations required to Swallowtail and Long Indy Lighthouse. CAO McPherson.
In the last month, I've been talking to SKS, Swallowtail Keeper Society, and the new word to my vocabulary is cupola. It's the dome that goes over the lighthouse, the lights. The one at Swallowtail is leaking, and it isn't the same size as it was 50 years ago. They have found new how to build a new one. It would be I think that one there is 8 windows, this one here will be 12. And they will, at the same time, would do the patching up on the walkway.
So what happened to the one that they had sourced and were gonna have for there?
Our Coast Guard wouldn't let it go.
Oh,
See, there's been 2 or 3 times.
So probably if we got a hold of our member of parliament, she could get it for us.
They were looking at trying to get the one off Gannon, but they won't go on Gannon anymore. It's gonna go into the ocean to move. So anyway, at the time, the expense of the new one is quite severe. We have been talking back and forth with gas tax for the last 3 or 4 years, and it has had no satisfaction. So looking through their criteria, and there's one thing they're called tourism. I phoned up my contact Luke and say, this is what we've got to do out at the Swallowtail. It's a icon of the Maritimes, and with the gas tax, pay for this. And he came back and said, yes, that was it. The idea would be try to get the cupola manufactured locally. Lori has a letter from Canadian Coast Guard that they will use the helicopter to take the other one of the back off and install the new one. That's quite a coup in itself, is to get it out there and get it on. And then I've talked to them. If you look to the Swallowtail now, after I read the thing about scraping, the weight, it's starting to dissipate and getting brown, that type of thing. So what I'm asking for from permission from the council is to pursue this with the gas tax fund. Right now, in our bank account, it's around $170,000, and we get another $80,000 toward the end of this fiscal year, and there's a new gas tax fund starting, I think, in the spring of 2019, going forward, and that would be a further income or further increase over the 5 years. I think Grand Manan has the opportunity to get $1 million over that time.
I think you've got to remember, we can only spend that gas tax money once. We're talking of airport expansion. We're talking of aquatic center, and we were going to do this with the gas tax money.
We can't get at we can't use anything from the airport right now until we've gone that way. But with the gas tax, I said, no, we can't do it. It's too much federal money involved. There's two programs in that. And it's the same way with the aquatic center, because it's we're looking 70% or 60% from small community, and then put in the gas tax act or gas tax fund. Right now they won't allow that. So
But you must remember, we have a new government coming in.
that's why we're here to decide.
Things may change on that.
There was a rumor that could be
So anyway,
won't be going real quick.
It's just something to think about. We can't,
Can I ask what you meant, sorry? Can I ask what you meant by you can only use that once?
well, there's only so much money there.
Right.
You can only spend it once.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see what I mean.
We can't keep spending and spending
No,
and say, we're
I
gonna
see.
do the airport, we're gonna do
List
the
it off.
aquatic center, and we're
Okay.
gonna do this and do that.
Oh, okay.
What's the estimated cost of the cupola?
Between 50 and, or 40 and 50,000. And that's all, it's high end.
First thing in my mind was about maybe getting the one down below with the helicopter ride kind of thing or whatever, but apparently they can get one, they can use the helicopter for changing it over, but
Yeah, they
have to
can't
get
go
the
up.
other one.
No.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, excuse me, that we direct the CAO to attempt to use the gas tax money to pay for the new cupola on Swallowtail Lighthouse.
You heard the motion by Deputy Mayor Moses. Do we have a seconder?
I think it's a bit premature to take that vote, but I will abstain from that vote.
I didn't-
I'd like to know more on, since you say we only get to use this money once, correct? So I think we should take a more in-depth look at
Currently, we're not allowed to use it on the airport
that. Okay.
or the,
So we can't use it at all for the airport, can't use it for the
aquatic center.
aquatic center.
We can't use it for the product center. It's completely
So it'd be-
off the table.
That's what we're being, currently, that is the situation.
Mr. Mayor, should we have a seconder on this? Because
Yeah, well, that's what I'm waiting for.
I'll second it.
okay,
Seconded by Councillor Ingersoll.
just for
Question now.
discussion, yes, thank you.
Question? CAO, you mentioned that it's not that cupola shrunk or anything, it's steel.
Yeah.
Now, there's a history there. I don't know, it doesn't cover the complete top of the lighthouse,
The
therefore it
original one.
leaks around, right?
Yes.
Now, was there one at one time that,
Yeah,
it did, that has gone. The second one was made, but a little too small, therefore we have leaks coming through the roof and on the floors and all that. So the new one, this new one will go back to cover the whole outside of the top of the lighthouse.
Yeah, you won't be able to walk along, the walkway will be gone.
Yes, because that walkway in that area is caused the leaks.
Yeah.
I understand now. Okay.
My question would be, CEO McPherson, is, and correct me myself, is that it doesn't take long for water damage before you really get serious water damage, rot and such. So with the price we're talking about, would that include whatever needs to be replaced?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. (11.5), Southern Hit Fog Alarm, support to reinstate the Southern Hit Fog Alarm. That's about the only bright thing I've seen there, I guess.
The letter from Lori, again, is on, in your package. The Coast Guard has, had the whistle foghorn, at Swallowtail and Long Eddy, re-engaged. And they have the machinery to put Long Eddy, or Southern Head in, but Lori thought that if, had some letter from the council saying it was a good idea, that would push it along. There's, I don't know, in Maman, there's not many foghorns left, and probably not the Bay of Fundy. But SKS has worked hard with Canadian Coast Guard, and the machinery is just laying in the yard in St. John's. So they're quite pleased to do it, want to do it. Some of the guys that are really pushing it are getting towards retirement, so time to...
Coast Guard people or fishermen?
Well, fishermen never go, never retire, but...
Say, we talked about this at my other job when they did a NavAid review probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I think I alluded to that in the email, which is in the package. It's honestly not something we've heard a lot about down at the office, about the need for a foghorn down there, simply because guys aren't using foghorns to navigate as much anymore. But, you know, certainly if there is a willingness on Coast Guard and there's no cost, I don't see a problem with supporting in general, would be my take on it.
That was going to be my next question, Mr. Mayor, is how much cost was involved in us, so nothing, I assume, then.
No, Canadian Coast Guard.
Okay, there we go.
Will the residents of that area like to have the horn?
Well, there's only there the seagulls. The one out in Swan Eddy, there should be a little bit,
No, I lived over there in the Merrill Griffin house, and after a couple of weeks there, you get used to that.
Yeah, that's what they told us, people at the campgrounds as well. It adds the ambiance.
Mr. Mayor, I will make the motion that council will send a letter of support to McAver James to support the criminal will, excuse me, Swallowtail, or
Southern Head.
the Southern Heads Foghorn, yes.
You heard the motion by Deputy Mayor Moses. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 11.6, Federation of Canadian Municipalities advocating for reliable internet for rural areas. Councillor Sturgeon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, this was a topic of discussion a couple of years ago when it was recently announced that the federal government was going to introduce something like $750 million to ensure internet for access for all Canadian citizens. Mr. Mayor, I think we can all agree that this is how the world is run today. This is how we conduct business. And Grand Manan has certainly had its challenges for internet access, and it's not doesn't seem to be getting any better. And this was a big thing a couple of years ago, but it doesn't seem to be going much of anywhere. So the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is looking to put a little pressure on the federal government to say, okay, boys and girls, let's get this thing, let's move forward on this. And so what the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is asking us to do is that we should download their one-page issue sheet and share it online, and to visit our MP and discuss it with her, and also leave the issue sheet with our local MP, and share our campaign on social media. I assume we got a Facebook page. I don't do Facebook, so okay, thank you very much. And we should also make it an issue when release a little press release to the local media and explain how this issue affects our community. And for those who tweet and all that stuff, do that as well. And anyway, Mr. Mayor, I would like for us to move in this direction. And I would like to make a motion that we move forward on all those things that FCM recommends.
Probably a lot of that money went for cameras.
Cameras, sir?
Oh, yeah, the Prime Minister likes to have his picture taken. You know that they run the cable just from Brantford's old store to Southern Head for the lighthouse.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah,
Fiber?
not fiber, no, but they run the internet down there. I don't know if it's fiber or not, but they run it down there because the Prime Minister said all federal buildings had to have internet. I asked at the time if other people could hook into it. They didn't know. They were just installing it.
Okay.
So anyway, do we have a seconder for Councillor Sturgeon's motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Morris. Question?
Mr. Mayor, In the second line of this release, it says, in rural, remote, and northern communities, this is not really applicable to a community such as Grand Manan. Grand Manan has access to DSL internet almost all across the island. There's, in a great many areas of the island, there's access to high-speed Wi-Fi, and a local company is currently in stage 1 of a project to bring fiber to the home on Grand Manan. Not that I don't believe we should help out the municipal, Federation of Community Municipalities. It's a good cause. I just don't believe it applies entirely to Grand Manan. What I would like to do after this is make a motion after this one's settled.
Any other comments, questions?
I guess I'm a little,
How do they vote on it?
I mean, I just know that based on my internet experience, it wouldn't be what I would call a satisfactory one as far as high speed goes compared to other areas. And I think that that's what people are concerned about, whether it's specific to this initiative maybe as a whole, but I think overall, internet on Grand Manan, for the most part, is not reliable or high speed.
Or what it could be.
Or what it could be, maybe is the better way to say that.
What it should be.
Yeah. So I guess that's sort of my perspective on it. And I understand what you're saying about, the local company and both that there is opportunities, but I still think that there is a need for some of the other internet providers to step up their game.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that council invite Crave Technologies for an information session to...
Aren't we getting quite close here, Deputy Mayor?
I'm not submitting any support for them, I just
Well, no,
want
but
council to
you're-
know their position, what their plans are.
Probably not a bad idea.
If you can't make a motion, I will.
Well, that's all I'm thinking, is coming from him, and it's his son-in-law that he's talking about.
Step back, step up.
I'd like to make a motion that council get together with Grave Technologies. Grave Technologies, and just for an information session with them to see what they have planned and what they've got for the future for Grand Manan for internet.
You heard the motion by Councillor Ingersoll. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Cheney. Question? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
I do have one request, Councillor Sturgeon. Can you forward the email directly? Because it looks like there's some links that we can follow. If you could do that at some point, that would be great. Or
I'll try to see what I can do.
okay.
12, the Recreation Director's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one thing before I start my report, just to go back to the RCMP report with the question that Councillor Sturgeon had about the criminal record checks. They are free for volunteers.
Okay,
If you're trying to acquire a criminal record check for a volunteer position, like for minor hockey, for example, it's free. But if you were acquiring one, let's say, to work as a recreation director, it costs you $25.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So, the arena's up and running. I guess the last time we were together was September. We did a little ice making, but everything's up and going. I think this is the starting of our 5th week as of today. Everything's going very well. We held some scheduling meetings with all the different user groups to go over this year's schedule, as well as user fees and billing and that kind of thing. Everything's pretty much the same as last year. The schedule, everybody got pretty much exactly what they wanted. With that, it left some open ice. So between the open ice and the new part-time help that we have out there, we're able to offer more public skates this year. Last year we had public skates on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 11, as well as the one on Sunday from 2:15 to 3:30. This year we were offering one every day of the week, Monday to Friday, 10 to 11, as well as a second one on Friday afternoon from 2:30 to 3:30, and the typical one that we have on Sundays from 2:15 to 3:30. So we now have 6 public skates for the community to take advantage of. The minor hockey is well underway. Teams and coaches are in place. All the referees have been recertified. We this year now have 4 brand new level 1 referees. These are some of the younger kids coming up. They're starting to get back. I think they're 12, 13 year old range. So they're now old enough to do that, which is great. We've got approximately 75 kids registered again this year, which is about average. This past weekend, we held our annual development weekend on Friday night and Saturday. We ran a total of 14 hours of on-ice clinics. Each group had 2 on-ice sessions, one Friday and one Saturday, as well as an off-ice. The off-ice clinics ranged anywhere from Pound Fitness, which was offered by Andrea Linton, and we took advantage of a new company that just started up, Wisewell and Free Holistic Services. They ran 2 child movement classes for us for our 2 younger groups, which was great to see. I called it yoga. All the kids get pretty nervous, but they were very pleased when they seen that it was not just yoga. They were actually doing a lot of movement, which was great. We had an arena inspection this year, first time ever for workplace health and safety. This was a result of the accident in Fernie, BC in 2017, where the arena attendants died because of an ammonia leak. So workplace health and safety are going around to all the arenas to checking to make sure that they have proper ammonia detection. Some places it's just a matter of having the ammonia levels recorded outside the door of the mechanical room. Some are going as far as it's much as similar as the radiation badge that you see a lot of the doctors and nurses wearing around when they work around the x-rays. It also detects movement, so that employee didn't move for a total of 5 minutes. They're able to communicate back and forth with them. So a lot of these arenas are having to incur quite a lot of cost. Luckily for us, our machine does not use ammonia, so we were given a clean bill of health and no further action was required. So it saved us a lot of money. We also had the fire people in, and I guess the arena was built in 2010, 2011, and it was the first time I've ever heard tell of the sprinklers being frozen. They came in to do an annual check, which was the first time I'd ever seen them there. I've been volunteering here since day one, and apparently there's sprinklers underneath the bleachers, which is kind of the lowest spot, the way that everything runs. There happened to be water in the sprinkler system. Of course, everything ran downhill to the lowest point and was completely frozen. So they had to send someone over. Of course, the sprinkler system was installed first, before partitions and all that stuff, so you can imagine a 40-foot long sprinkler trying to get it out between 16-inch center studs. It didn't work very well, so they ended up cutting it all into pieces, taking it outside, beating the ice apart, bringing it back in and reinstalling it. So that may be on one of the invoices for approval from Troy Fire for those pumps, but anyway, that would be why. Once we got the ice all installed, we were able to go back outside to finish up with some fall maintenance and winterizing the pool. All the ball fields had their infields decompacted, as well as some reseeding and fertilizer on the outfield grass. The pool, we had to drain all the lines as usual, try to put as much antifreeze in to prevent freezing as we can. All the skimmers had to be covered with heavy bags as well as plywood to try to keep any rain from getting in. And all it does is just end up diluting our antifreeze, freezes, cracks, breaks, and you all know what happens. Washrooms, everything was all ready for being winterized. The gym schedule, now that we're in the fall, gym schedule is filling up very quick. A lot of the users that take the summer off are coming back in now. The seniors walking program, we actually have a bit of a new program to tack onto that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Immediately after the walking program from 10 to 11, we have a new group called Change Fitness, which is led by Sharon Green, as well as Margie Bainbridge and sometimes Andrea Linton. They're coming in on those 2 days and offering the classes to the seniors. I have to be careful when I say seniors, because some of the ladies that are in that class probably technically aren't seniors yet, but they're retired, so. Had a couple meetings with Rotary the last couple of months. I guess they were more or less looking for an update on the Wellness Center. They've committed quite a substantial amount of money to the project. They're just kind of wondering where that stands. I think under the current circumstances with the government, I think everyone understands. They were inquiring about the status of the EIA. It had to do with the outdoor courts that we were looking to build last summer, and as well as possible with the picnic pavilion. One of the latest things with them is we met to look at the possibility of putting some picnic shelters up along the bank next to the new Castelia playground. The picnic shelter would look much the same as the ones that do going to the Anchorage Pond, Long Pond, and Big Pond. It's just kind of an 8x8 cement pad, picnic table, 4 posts at the roof, something that gives people a chance to take advantage of the beautiful scenery. Still working on that, trying to find some donations. Talked about getting in touch with Megan Greenlaw. She did a fantastic job with the playgrounds. We thought we might get in touch with her to see if she would like to continue helping with that. And the last thing would be the Christmas parade, this year on December 9th at 6. Following the parade, we're not having the food in the gym. This year we've gone with a public skate with some light refreshments in the canteen, and possibly, as usual, a visit from Santa.
On skates.
Maybe on skates. We'll see how that is. But I'd like to thank the parade committee for all their help. I know Alyssa and Amy and Esme have done a lot. We also have a really big bunch of volunteers from the community, which is great. Something that we haven't had much of lately, but the Christmas parade must be something everyone's passionate about because they kind of come out of the woodwork for that. So that's just my report. Any questions?
Did you say it was a free public skate after the...
Free public skate.
Okay, thank you.
Light refreshments.
Just a couple questions. I've never heard the terminology decomposing?
Decompacted.
Decompacting.
It's just a summer's worth of kids running around compacts the soil.
Yeah.
So one of the new infield groomer that we bought a couple of years ago has a blade behind it, so we can lower that so it goes down, just under the soil, and it just fluffs it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that Rotary were looking at, we're only what our EIA, is that an environmental?
Impact assessment.
Environmental impact assessment. And my last question is there any interest in the canteen this year, if anyone taking that over for the...
Actually, spoke with CAO McPherson today, and it sounds like there may be a minor hockey grandmother and mother that may be interested in offering some services out there during minor hockey events.
That'd be great.
Chris, this may be already covered, but you mentioned public skate every day and an extra one on Friday. Are those going to be up on the sign out on the building here, or could they be?
They could be. It's on our schedule, which is posted throughout the building, Facebook pages, village websites, that kind of stuff.
But somebody has to be there for all of that stuff up here, seen driven by. It's one of the things I noticed coming through Black's Harbor. Public skate today at 3:30.
We'll get CAO McPherson to put it on the sign.
I'm not allowed to play with it.
One more time. Your sense of humor. Any more questions for Chris? Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
13 is approval to pay the following invoices. AJW Mechanical Geothermal Maintenance, $2,094.43. Troy Life and Fire Alarm Panel, $3,191.25. Troy Life and Fire Replace Booster, $2,622. Aerial Fee Limited, I suppose Fire Department Gloves, $1,754.44. And that is out of the general operating fund.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pay the invoices as stated under the general operating fund.
You heard the motion by Councillor Cheney. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Morris. Question?
Question here on the replace the booster for the fire pump, I take it?
The two of them got struck by lightning in September. Both.
Where are they located?
Pardon me?
Where are they located?
Well, there's one in here.
Yes.
Coming in, the other one's in the,
Little building?
in the pump room. We're gonna cross the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Both got hit at the same time.
It didn't blow the rest of the...
I don't, yeah, that's the guy said that's, it's not unusual, but not that you both or lose the same time. I suppose you connect somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I won't go into the details, but good, okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Closed session, we're going in for financial snow removal tenders and property cell phone tower lease and land.
I move, we move to closed session.
You heard the motion by Councillor Morris. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Moses. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting back to order after being in closed session, and we were in closed session to discuss snow removal tenders, a cell phone tower lease, and land. So 14.1 is the snow removal tenders.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the loan tender.
You heard the motion by Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
A lot of finger pointing.
Second by Councillor Ingersoll. There, we'll do that.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Cell phone tower lease.
I move that we invite Bell to the island to talk about the cell phone tower lease and other issues with phone and internet.
You heard the motion by Councillor Morris. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So the next issue was land.
You just want to hear the good news.
Mr. Moore, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we contact Mr. Morris and take him up on his offer and what needs to be done with surveying and EIA, et cetera, what's involved.
You heard the motion by Deputy Mayor Moses. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Cheney. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. She isn't going home because she left her stuff here.
We gotta have her because she's got to make the next motion.
Yeah, the same thing.
Well, you guys could have done this.
Have you got a Fitbit on?
I should have.
Okay. Next regular council meeting is Monday, December the 3rd, 2018, 7:30 PM at the Graminan Community Center. And Councilor Morse?
Move to adjourn. You really could have.
Motion by Councilor Morse. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Sturgeon. And thank our camera people.
I should have just let you guys do that and left and gone home, but we were done with it.